I have seen the five-part series, and I think unless you're knowledgeable a bit about polo, it would be very dull. I was quite interested because it showed the Campioso, the father and son, who are the best polo players in the world, but that interested me. But I think where it missed out is there's such a backstory about polo. And people love animals. Where do the horses come from? How are they trained? How are they looked after? There was none of that. It was like the housewives of America.
Mm. Are you disappointed that Harry and Meghan are not in it? Or is the point that they're not in it because they're being less controversial, you know, that they're behind the camera? Are you disappointed that that Harry, for instance, wasn't front and centre playing polo?
Well, he did, you know, play. There was a bit of him playing polo and a bit of him talking to people. And Meghan appeared and spoke to Campioso, who's this amazing Argentine player, in Spanish, and sort of did a lot of wiggling about that. And then he asked, does Harry speak Spanish? And Meghan said, yes. And Harry said, no. But I mean, quite honestly, it wasn't exciting.
No, I can't stand polo. I must have been to 1,000 games, and I can't bear the game. I mean, it's
not a spectator sport, is it,
it's not. They're great pictures. I mean, it's some wonderful pictures at polo. One of the best pictures I've ever taken, but it wasn't the game. Although I did photograph him for. No, I didn't photograph him. I was in Sydney once, and he fell off his polo pony, and I spent all day tracking down someone who had the picture of him falling off. So, yeah, so that was a bit of an event. But, you know, normally, I mean, I couldn't bear the game. It was 7 chukkers or 7 minutes, 4 chukkers. I was watching the clock.
The only times I've go to watch polo is because they often have a good bar. And maybe that's the point. There's often some nice champagne.
In the days when Diana used to go to the polo, and again, William, as a little boy, there was wonderful photographs, which probably you got, Arthur, of William, you know, kicking up a bit. He was probably very bored.
Oh, yeah, I've got a picture of him crying and Nanny scolding him, Oh, yeah, William crying And also her walking along, she would tread a fashion out there. I remember once she had polka dot socks on.
Yes, I remember.
And she'd say, what do you think of my polka dot socks, she'd say, you know, or she wore culottes, you know. She was a fashion icon, and I can always remember her at the polo, looking through Hello magazine to see if she was in there, you know. So she was obviously very aware that she was, you know, the main topic of the magazine. You know,
and then she would use polo against Charles and say, he'd say, well, I'm going to take the boys to watch polo. She said, no, I'm taking them to Tetbury. So that was one of her little angles, you know, when they were really getting on very badly. You know, she always had the winning card.
So why has Harry chosen polo, do you think? I mean, we're saying it's not particularly entertaining. I mean, people will watch it because it's got their name attached to it, maybe. But why have they chosen this show, do you think?
I suppose because Harry is a polo player and he's a very good rider. And he's a pretty good polo player, and I suppose he has the in with all these Argentine players that are so good, but most people in the world have never heard of them.
And also, you know, you were talking that story about Diana. I remember at a reception with Diana in Cairo, and I asked her if she was going to the polo next year. This was about May time, going to the polo. She said, no, she said, I don't like the game, she said, and the boys don't like the game, and she said, and it's a waste of valuable family time. June the 1st, the editor says to me, picture, so you go to polo? I said, well, she's not going. About a call from my son about 4 o'clock, she's here, Dad. And fortunately, he helped me out with the pictures, but, you know, that was it. I mean, you know, she would say one thing and then do another.
That was Diana, though,
yeah, it was her, though,
Yeah, she'd say one thing to one person, one to another.
Yeah, and she said that to me.
Wait and see what happened.
I hate the game, she said. I think it spoils.
And the boys don't like it, but both boys ended up being really good players.
Well, yeah, very good, yeah. But he wasn't a bad player, Prince Charles. I mean, he played all over the world. I mean, I photographed him playing polo in Australia, in New Zealand, in Africa. You know, he just loved the sport.
And he used to say it was a release against all the stresses of his everyday life and his work, of being Prince of Wales and all the things he had to do. Playing polo was a big release for the sort of pent-up frustration.
And if you look at the King's face, he's got a scar here. That's a polo scar. He had
It was in
broke his
Florida,
arm.
wasn't it?
No.
Wasn't the scar from when he... Anyhow.
He fell off.
had a
He
few
fell off, and a
falls.
horse kicked him, and he had a scar. And then he. I remember in Florida, I was photographing him playing polo. He was rushed to hospital with heat exhaustion. Another time, he broke his arm, and I remember a picture of him coming out of the hospital at Cheltenham with Diana and his arms in a sling, and it was such a bad break. He had to go reset up in Nottingham at a specialist hospital there.
And it still hurts him.
Yeah. So, it was, it's a rough old sport.
Well, so there's so much royal family connections, through polo, through the years. Are you surprised that Harry didn't draw on the royal family connections, apparently for this polo show, or are we kind of relieved that he seems maybe to have moved on from speaking about the royal family?
But if he's moved on and it's dull,
Yeah.
I can't see that the Netflix viewing figures are going to be huge on that at all.
It's a shame because I think Harry's a great orator. I think he's
He is a good. He's
very good. I mean, he was when he
speaker,
worked
yeah.
here, when he worked for the royal family here. I mean, he was always interesting. Always interesting. Even in the private conversations, he thinks about things. And I would Netflix probably, didn't want him.
Maybe Meghan had a bigger hand in it because she obviously knows
Are
very
you saying
little about it.
Are you saying Meghan tells Harry what to do? Oh,
No, I'm not saying that, Arthur.
You're allowed to say that.
how dare you say it?